March 2025 can be the month where everything's changing. It's a month that's packed with major astrological events. And honestly, they're some of the most significant of 2025. And you might already be feeling it. There's really momentum building. Things like, man, are aligning, unraveling a little faster than expected because this month is bringing transits that are rare. They don't come around very often. And when they do, they're going to leave a mark. And so what does this mean? How do we move through this in a way that makes sense for you? We're going to be going through all of March 2025, all the things that are going to go on and kind of try to weave together a story. My name is Lindsay. In case you don't know, I'm a practicing Western tropical Hellenistic astrologer. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, in this video, we're going to be breaking down everything in March because these kinds of shifts and what we do with them or what we don't do with them can set the tone for everything that follows. March 2nd, we start off with a Venus retrograde beginning a 40-day, 40-night journey, okay? It's very mythic. I'm going to tell you a little story about it in a second. But before we do, let's just kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it. What is it? Venus is going to go retrograde, which means for the next 40 days, things like relationships, money, what you truly want, your values, all that stuff's up for review. Venus is going to station at 10 degrees Aries on March 2nd, 2025. But instead of charging ahead, like Aries prefers to do, she's going to backtrack into 24 degrees Pisces before turning direct in April 12th, 2025. Venus retrograde happens once every 18 months, and it's a reality check of the Venusian themes, okay? It's a time that makes you want to stop and reconsider, is this really the path you want to be on? Things that maybe seemed obvious, like what you want in life, who you love, what you value, they're kind of going to not feel as solid during this period. Somebody could be coming back into your life or even the memory of them comes back and you have to refine, reassess, figure out what's really important if you want them in your life or not. And if you have planets in late Pisces or early Aries, this one's going to hit closer to home. So since Venus retrogrades in the same part of the zodiac every 8 years, we can look back to March and April, 2017 and 2009 for similar themes to be coming up again. Because starting in Aries, it's a sign about momentum, independence, chasing what we want, moving forward. But then Venus is going to slip back into Pisces, which is about letting go and reflecting and surrendering to the bigger picture. It kind of feels like we're hitting the gas, right? We're going forward, and then we're hitting the brakes at the same time. Pisces is the end of the zodiac, and it naturally ends into a beginning, but going from a beginning to an ending, that's a little counterintuitive. What this means is before we move forward, we might need to revisit something first. And that could be a relationship, a creative project, an emotional pattern, financial situation, money, values, anything that needs some tweaking there. So here's our little story. It's the story of Inanna. She was a Sumerian goddess of love and fertility and war. Now in this myth, Inanna, she has to descend into the underworld. And at each stop she has to make, I think it's 7 stops, she sheds her earthly wares, her jewelry, her clothing, her symbols of power. Yeah, at each gate, she has to leave something there until she has no more material possessions. She's completely bare, she's naked, and she has to stand before her sister, Ereshkigal. She's the goddess of the underworld. Now, unfortunately, Inanna is standing there. She's judged. She is killed. She is hung on a hook for 3 days and nights. And that is the process she has to go through of losing everything before she is resurrected and returned to the world above. And as she's returned, she's transformed, she's wiser, she's forever changed, and she has a different perspective. So that's basically the Venus retrograde process in mythic form. Something in our life that's Venusian has to be stripped away, left, examined, surrendered, and before we can fully move forward again. That action of Aries, we have to go back to the underworld, the spirit world of Pisces for a little while to understand what is the connection there. What do we want? Who do we love? What value isn't as straightforward as we think it is? And the retrograde reveals what's truly important. There's a silver lining here. Venus is going to sextile Jupiter as it stations, when it finally does station. And that's a reminder that even if things feel messy or unclear, it's going to, right? When we have to reassess what is in our heart, it's going to feel bad for a little while if we have to lose something or we have to change something. It's a shift, right? But there's something bigger unfolding. Jupiter brings perspective. Sextile is stimulating. So whatever Venus retrograde is stirring up in our lives, if it's relationships or finances or personal value, whatever it is, it's not about just revisiting the past. It's setting something up in a way that is actually better for us in the long run. So how do we move forward? How do we move through this? We have to look at what's coming back around. It could be a person, a relationship, a pattern, an old dream, something like that, a creative project. So don't ignore if something comes back up again. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Venus retrograde is kind of like a deep clean for the heart. Now, by the time Venus moves forward in April, a lot of things are going to make more sense. All the story that March is going to kind of come clear. What I'm going to do personally is keep a lot of notes in March. I'm going to take down anything that's significant because it's going to become clear after March. In April, things are going to start to be revealed to us and we can put together the puzzle of all these little pieces. But for now, it's all about reworking, revisiting, and figuring out what's real. March 3rd, Mercury is going to enter Aries, and communication is going to get faster, sharper, way more direct. No more reading between the lines or trying to feel things out like the Pisces version. It's all about saying what needs to be said, getting to the point. So you can expect conversations to get quicker, opinions generally getting stronger, way less patience for anything vague or unclear. Yeah, people just might be blurting things out without thinking, and maybe that you're already experiencing that, but it's going to be way more direct. And then it's going to get nebulous again because Mercury is going to go back into Pisces. It's going to be a weird period. And so we got to wait this thing out a little bit. Just really be observational at this time. Double check your text before hitting send if you feel like you're getting a little bit riled up, because there's no second drafts in Aries, and you might regret, something that's coming out in this time where it's a little too sharp. Anyway, just keep an eye on that. March 12th, we have a Sun conjunct Saturn, otherwise known as a Saturn cazimi. The Sun meets Saturn at 20 degrees Pisces, which marks a new start of a Sun-Saturn cycle. It's like a new moon for Saturn. Saturn is a little tough, yeah, but it's fair. It doesn't let you take shortcuts, and if you do, get the rewards, okay? It's about making sure whatever you're creating actually lasts. And in Pisces, it brings that spiritual version, that dream, the dreamscape, the vastness of Pisces, universal love, all that. So it's a time to really think about what you want to make that's going to last. Astrologer Ren Butler describes Sun-Saturn archetype as being focused, willpower, perseverance, the ability to endure hardship. Basically, it's the kind of energy that makes you want to put in the work, to push through limitations, to not quit when things get difficult, to prove yourself that you can handle whatever's in front of you, wherever you felt blocked or avoiding responsibility. All the things that you need to set up, this would be a good time to initiate that, looking at your rewards that are going to come through Saturn stuff, through persistence, discipline, showing up for the long game, not quitting when things get hard. And if you're willing to do the work and take accountability, build something solid, this is what Saturn does best. It's real, lasting progress. It's like getting on the treadmill or going for a long walk. At first, it's just sometimes, unless you're super good at exercise, a lot of us just want to quit after 5 minutes. And the more you stay on that treadmill, the longer, if you do your time that you're supposed to do and you get off, man, you feel good, right? It feels so good. That's Saturn working. So how to work with it best, take an honest look at what's working in your life, what's not, what needs to be adjusted, where do you need to set up a commitment for the long term, maybe even a 1-year goal. This would be really cool. It's like, say, where do I want to be in 1 year? This is a really good time to do that. And building something that's going to hold up over time. Or also maybe solidifying yourself to not get discouraged. I did that with a lot of my projects where I say, I'm not going to judge myself for X amount of time. Whatever happens, I'm not going to take it personally for this amount of time. So that's a really good strategy to work with Saturn. On March 14th, Mercury turns retrograde. Yeah, not that long was it going through Aries, but it already made it to 9 degrees Aries before it goes retrograde. And this is where we're going to start feeling perhaps a little bit confused, scrambled, delayed. That's when the arguments and weird stuff's probably going to happen. Mercury retrogrades are always about revisiting, rethinking, reworking. And this one comes with extra layers, right? Because it's retracing the steps that Venus already covered as it's going retrograde. This is a connection of the heart and the mind. This is the way I'm seeing it. So we're really renegotiating, reevaluating. First, we kind of feel it in our heart, and then we have to process it with the mind, going back over it. It's not new. We've been here before. And it's about taking a second look before we can move forward. Mercury retrograde in Aries is normally quick, decisive, to the point, and it usually lasts about 3 weeks. Okay. So when it's in retrograde, it's like we're hitting the gas while we're still in reverse. So this is interesting. It makes me think. Have you seen that movie, Baby Driver? It's a few years old now, but it's a really kind of a fun, weird, cool movie. This kid, his name's Baby, and he's the driver of these gangs that do bad things, but he's the getaway driver, and that kid can drive in reverse like nobody's business, man. Anyway, I digress. That's the kind of thing you can work with it, right? If you have really put in the effort, you can drive backwards. Well, this is going to be good for you. Anyway, this is the idea. It's a real quick backwards drive, and the impulses are kicking in, but the timing isn't quite right. Well, you can maybe get it right. You just got to have the right song. If you're ready to make a big move, just make sure you have the right song, which by that I mean make sure you're not acting on impulse, but you're clear on what you're doing. Read everything 3 times. If you have to make a decision or sign a paper or something, this retrograde, it's always like that, Mercury retrograde. So just really be clear about what you're doing and focused, like Baby Driver. By the time Mercury moves direct on April 7th, that's when things will start making more sense. So I'm keeping notes this month, man, keeping notes. March 14th, we get our first real big move here. We have a total lunar eclipse at 23 degrees Virgo. It means something is coming to a head, wrapping up, clearing out. This is the closure. Lunar eclipses are about closure, what needs to be ended, especially in something that's tied to like old habits, outdated routines, health, your health or wellness, ways of thinking it's just not working for you anymore. This eclipse is aligned with the South Node, which means we need to release something. It's the tail of the dragon, right? It's the thing that needs to go. South Node eclipses tend to push us in that direction, whether we feel ready or not. Kind of like realizing you've been carrying a bag full of stuff that you don't need anymore, and it's time to lighten the load. This reminds me of the life-changing art. Is that called life-changing art of tidying up? I think that's what it's called. It's Marie Kondo, if you don't know. It's really about looking at all your things, putting them all in a pile and asking if they still spark joy. Are you still supposed to be in my life, or are we done? This is what it reminds me of. A Virgo cleanse is like that. I had one of those myself, and I'm guessing, I'm going to look back in my notes, but I'm pretty sure it was during a Virgo Pisces nodal axis. Yeah, because man, I got rid of so much stuff. It was such a release. And clearing things out, having a plan, making sure things are structured in your life. Sometimes you have to go through every single piece of it and ask if it still belongs there. Virgo wants things to make sense, wants things to be organized and structured and planned. And Pisces, on the other hand, we have the North Node there. We're going to have another thing coming up at the end of the month with the North Node. It's all about trust and flow and accepting that not everything can be neatly organized. So this eclipse is asking us, where do we need to loosen our grip? It's going to be important to know what house it's happening in. What is your Virgo in your whole sign chart? What are you holding on to? An old system, plan, belief, health, especially health and wellness, Virgo. What needs to be purified, cleansed, released, moved on? Very material, right? Virgo is an earth sign. So sometimes it's physical, tangible things, shifting to align with something that's less materialistic and more spiritual. This is blending those two things together. So here's where we have a little twist. The ruler of this eclipse is Mercury. Mercury rules Virgo, and that's in retrograde. So it tells us that this moment is tied to something from the past. We're rethinking, reestablishing, reevaluating, and letting things go. That kind of works with that Marie Kondo thing, right? Like really looking at all your things and deciding if they need to be there. So this eclipse could be reinforcing lessons that you have to circle back to. Heart and mind, spirit and material. All this is coming together in March. It's fascinating. Eclipses speed things up. But Mercury, our little quick fast planet of the solar system, is in retrograde. This feels more like a time to evaluate, not rushing decisions, maybe putting the things in a pile and then getting rid of them in April, thinking about it now and then acting in April. And that's all allegorical, metaphorical as well. You've got to give it a little bit of time. March 19th, Sun conjunct Neptune, the start of a new visionary cycle. This is where it's starting to get good. We have Neptune Cazimi, just like the Saturn Cazimi. It's the beginning of a whole new cycle for the Sun and Neptune. It's a synodic cycle, but get this. Sun and Neptune are meeting at 29 degrees Pisces. This is the very last degree of the zodiac, which marks an ending and a beginning. See how hot this area is? Pisces and Aries is, it's like a supernova right now. It's so much energy. Neptune dissolves boundaries, blurs reality, opens up something bigger than ourselves. It's the unseen. It's so vast. It's hard to get your mind around it, really. Neptune's huge. Pisces is huge, and they've been there together. So when it meets the sun, that's identity, direction, clarity. It's going to be infused with imagination, intuition, and confusion. Sure. Whenever we got Neptune, Pisces, there's some confusion. But I think we're to the 29th degree that this is not the issue. It's like, okay, looking back where we've been for the last 14 years and spiritually, intuitively, universally, where do we want to go in this next move? The last degree in Pisces is not an ordinary spot, right? It's the entire zodiac ending before something new starts. So there's a space of contemplation and surrender and a little bit overwhelming, right? That anaretic degree is always a little bit complicated, complex. They're always ruled by Saturn or Mars, if you ever look at that. And so that means it's not easy, but it also gives those rewards of Saturn and Mars at the end there, I think. It's complex. But we're making room for something new in March, obviously, something big happening. Neptune dissolves, and Aries is initiatory, and the sun is just about to leave Pisces and burst into Aries. We're going to get the equinox too. So the edge of some huge energetic shift. We're going to go from a passive dreaming to active creation. And so it's a surrender to a momentum kind of energy. Basically, it's a real moment to check in with your dreams for the future that are huge, that are big, overwhelmingly huge sometimes, right? This Neptunian style. And decide if they're leading you somewhere meaningful or if you're stuck in a loop here, and what do you want to do to, set in some intentions to make that better. We're getting to the end of the month, and kind of like the way they do concerts that are those big festival concerts, and they have the tiny writing, like all the people that come first or the opening acts, and then the text gets bigger until you have the biggest name at the end. This is where we're getting to the big names. So we've saved the best for last in the March Coachella astrology lineup here. March 29th, we have a new moon and partial solar eclipse in Aries. Yep, Aries again, a bold first step here. The new moon and the partial solar eclipse is at 9 degrees Aries, and it comes in right after the vernal equinox. And so this is the huge reset. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, the one that says enough thinking, let's just do this. So the eclipse there, something's getting kicked into motion, whether we want it or not, because a solar eclipse opens new avenues. Now, this is not a total solar eclipse like our last one. This is a partial, but a partial eclipse still packs quite a punch, especially in astrology. They bring new beginnings, unexpected plot twists. It's the new opening of the door. It's the north node, right? So we think about this as moving us towards something we didn't realize we were ready for, and it's opening a new moment. We'll talk more about the eclipse as it comes closer, but I think this is going to be significant change, not only for us personally, but it's going to be a huge shift collectively. Just a little aside here, if you're still here with me, like every single thing that you can imagine has been stopping me today, including somebody doing the blower outside. And so I just had to stop and wait. And so I went on YouTube and I was like, oh, whatever, just see what's coming up on my YouTube. And it was Xanadu with Olivia Newton-John, 1980. It's the finale, the last scene of the film. And oh my gosh, it is so, it's kind of this energy of Neptune and Pisces moving into Aries. It's like, what the heck? It's like that last 29th degree of Pisces is this Xanadu. I'll put a link in the description below. You can tell me what you think, but oh my gosh, what in the world's going on in this video? It's almost like America's Got Talent from 1980. Like, it's weird. It's charming though. Okay, that was that. I think I'm ready to move on. March 30th, Neptune enters Aries. For the first time, this is happening since 1861. Neptune's moving into Aries. And that's leaving us behind 14 years of Pisces and Xanadu, man. Dissolving those waters. It's bizarro. Bizarro land we've been in for 14 years. It's a seismic shift, personally, collectively, from reflection to action, from dreaming to doing, surrender to self-determination, right? And Pisces is very close to what Neptune is. You know, those keywords are very similar. Things fade, dissolve, blur at the edges. And Aries is where things are going to ignite. So Neptune in Pisces was about surrendering to larger forces, but Neptune in Aries is going to be about choosing a direction. It's very direct and fighting for it, and aligning our spirituality with what we're willing to fight for. It's going to get really wacky. It's going to be interesting. Historically, the last time Neptune entered Aries, the world was in turmoil. So much of what we now consider defining moments in history, they were just a series of chaotic unfolding events. People didn't even know how the story would end. That's what's happening right now. It's really bizarre. Like, life is happening, history is happening in what we're living right now. January and February were one thing. I'm telling you, March is leveling up. Just looking at what's going on in the world. Whoa, this is the beginning, man. I don't know what's going to happen in the rest of March, but if this is how it's starting, wow. The American Civil War was what was going on in 1861, if you know about that. And that's when it broke out. Nationalism was surging across Europe. Revolutionary movements were reshaping society. So new ideological movements were emerging at the time, and not just from governments, but from individuals, people who had a vision, who were willing to push for that vision, even at great risk. So thinking about what was that Civil War about, there's two decisively different ideologies. So Neptune in Aries is where things are going to get very interesting, because Neptune has ideals, dreams, illusions, and Aries isn't going to sit back and contemplate. What's going to happen with Neptune in Aries is kicking off the shift where something that once seemed distant or vague or not part of our life is suddenly going to become really personal. It's going to be impossible to ignore it, really. And I'm interested to see how it shakes out, but Neptune dissolving boundaries in a charging Aries landscape, that we're going to get into some direct engagement with history, with activism. It's very collective. So collectively, we're in 14 years with this Pisces stuff where anything goes, no boundaries, into Aries where it's like, bro, we have to have a really strong focus. We're moving forward. Neptune and Pisces emphasize surrendering, boundarylessness, and just way too much boundarylessness, in my opinion, personal, that's my own opinion. And to Neptune in Aries, which is going to be, what are you willing to do to manifest your beliefs? You have to do something. There's going to be a focus on self-reliance, on leadership, doing things yourself, victory garden kind of thing like that, your own chickens, your own things, your own food. So anyway, right before Neptune crosses into Aries, it's going to meet Mercury retrograde at 29 degrees 59. That is literally the last second of the zodiac, right? Mercury is going to meet up with Neptune together in a conjunction. And it's a very fleeting but potent moment here, because Mercury is the messenger who's already been in Aries. It's coming back to meet Mercury at 29 degrees and that ultimate liminal space to give it a message of what's going to come ahead. What is the world going to look like on March 30th? It's easy to overlook some of these things in our history, in our own lives, in our collective, but it's important to see things clearly before we move forward, looking back over these last 14 years. We have to have that one last truth from the past to, I don't know, man, go forward into the future with a little more wisdom, a little bit more knowledge, knowing what's possible, what's potential. History and astrology align really, really well. That's one thing I've noticed over my time in astrology. That brings us to the end of the month. And as you can see, March 2025 really could shape up to be one of those months for the history books. Everything feels like it's shifting at once, because it is. Truths are going to come to the surface, and there's going to be about 10 different truths. You're going to have to pick one. That's the story. Neptune moving into Aries alone is enough to mark a huge turning point in the collective, in our lives, everything like that. But with Venus and Mercury both retrograde, you're going to have to rethink things. What's valuable to you? What are we going to have to give up? What are we going to have to move forward with, especially with the eclipses, right? Virgo, the Marie Kondoing of our lives. It's a big red reset button. When we were standing at the edge of the Civil War, they didn't really know what it was going to be. They were just people making decisions and following out the path, whatever got laid in front of them. All the pieces are going to fall into place, but we need to give ourselves room to navigate these shifts and be kind to others, kind to ourselves, and know that there's more unfolding than meets the eye, even though it's going to be really easy to see it. I mean, if you have eyes and ears and a heart right now, it's not easy. It's not easy what's going on. 2025 is astrologically intense, and that's going to come out in our reality. And if you've been on the fence about getting a chart reading, a natal chart reading, this might be a good time to check in with your chart. And since these transits are pretty major. I'm going to be offering a special rate through March. You can use the code MARCH, M-A-R-C-H, at checkout. If you go to my website, www.elnatali.com, you can book anytime in the next 6 months, take advantage of the discount, but the discount offer is going to end April 1st, 2025. I like you just the way you are. I hope you have a good March and know that we're in this together. I'm here with you, okay? All right, I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.